What's up, guys? Out here and just inspired to actually make it's so nice out. And I was inspired to make a little video for you guys, basically about all the stuff we've been talking about on the recent videos. And there is so much, excuse me, guys, because I've been under the weather a bit. There is so much that goes into self-development, okay? And it's very, very complicated. It's there's so much about it. When you really realize that the way that you're showing up is based on the thoughts of everything around you, the thoughts that you're accepting to be true of yourself and your environment, everything becomes important. I saw this quote recently, which is, it's like the older I get, I realize that everything really is that deep. The people that I surround myself with, the place that I go to work at, the food that I eat, the information that I take in, it really is that deep. And the topic of this video is they want us divided. Whoever the powers that be are, whoever you think of when you hear the word they, you might have different things come to mind. Elites or whatever people that are in control, people that have the agenda of, media, whatever you want to say, right? I'm not that's a whole different discussion for something else. I'm not going to get into conspiracies or anything like that, but it's very obvious when you study history, you study military strategy, or even just strategy in general, divide and conquer, right? People are much more easily manipulated when they've been divided, when they've been cut off from their source of support system, and that goes on an individual level as well. If somebody's a manipulative person, they're going to look to cut their victim or the person that they're looking to manipulate off from their family, off from their friends, from their support system, because their support system is going to be the ones that provide them that healthy perspective and say, hey, look, what this person's doing is totally out of line, totally out of whack, and they're being manipulative. They're manipulating you. It's a lot easier to see it for your family members or your friends to see what's happening in the third person rather than in a first person point of view, because when you're in it, you get swept up into your emotions, and again, you are at the mercy then of that manipulative person. So what I'm talking about right now is on a macro level. On a macro level, if you look around at society right now, everything is us versus them. Everything is divided by gender, divided by ethnicity, divided by political affiliation, political party, divided by where you're from. Do you identify with this belief system, that belief system, religion? All of these different things are the color of your skin. Are you straight? Are you gay? Every single thing, your sexual orientation, can be used as a dividing line, when really at the end of the day, let's take the example of men and women, for example. Now, if you're a conscious, aware person, you're going to realize that there are good men, there are bad men, there are good women, and there are bad women. And to make a blanket statement to say all women are bad or all men are bad is super immature, and it's like very low level thinking. This black and white thinking is really for the birds, is what it is for. And if you have any level of maturity, any level of self-introspection and reflection, in your heart of hearts that that is the case. You've ran into good people that are of both sexes. You've ran into bad people that are of both sexes. There can be something extremely valuable from masculine energy, and the same thing with feminine energy. But when both get twisted and inverted, they both become extremely, extremely dark, and both do. Okay, it's not, and so what I'm saying is, by looking, the thing is, it all comes down to you. It all comes down to you and what your beliefs are. Because if you have that healthy self-reflection, and if you're able to then stand in your power, stand in your authority to make your own mind up on something, you're not going to accept all of the what's the mumbo freaking jumbo that you get from TV or that you get from the media. When you are listening to these people, whether you listen to a red pill guy or whatever, talking about all women, you know, are this, or you listen to, you know, this toxic feminism, this Me Too movement stuff, all of this stuff that is super toxic, it has been designed to cut you off from your ability to self-reflect. Because your ability to self-reflect will tell you, wait a second, that can't be true. That's not all true. If their character assassinates somebody, that's called an ad hominem. They say, oh, this person is they're a dumbass, or they're you know, they're stupid or whatever. That's not based on facts. That's just a manipulative tactic to make you think that there is some sort of, you know, by conveying this with emotion to make you buy into it. And it's not true. It's not true. So what I'm saying is, when you take a moment to reflect, when you take a moment to think, look, you know, this, by me being so outwardly focused, by me buying this bullshit narrative that they're feeding to me, that's saying, hey, look, it's all the men's fault, or it's all the white people's fault, or it's all the straight people's fault. Whatever the narrative is that's being spun in the current moment, what it does is it disempowers you. And I want you to understand this on a deep level, because this is the inherent truth that we need to all realize collectively as people. As soon as you point the finger and put all the blame on somebody else, now you have just completely gotten rid of your own power. Your power comes from taking responsibility in your life. You have to see that the two cannot coexist. And so by playing this victim role, by assigning the blame outside of you, whether you identify as a man or as a woman or as a you know, a white person, a black person, a Asian person, and you go and say, oh, look, well, all these other people have it out for me because I am this thing, this label that I've assigned to myself. Again, that's cutting you off from your power. And what's happening is that now you don't have the chance to evolve. Now you don't have the chance to question things, because now you're so focused on pointing the blame. You see what I'm saying? It's very, very deceptive. This whole idea of, yeah, hot girl summer, and or just any sort of thinking, any sort of line of thinking that alleviates that group of people from taking any sort of responsibility for their life. This could also go for, you know, you could even go as far as to say that this even goes for people on like social welfare, that people that aren't making that much money, and then you got these systems in place that are there, okay, the food stamps and this and that. On the surface, it looks very good, right? But what happens when you create a dependency, when you have people that don't have enough and they become dependent on something? Now they've lost their power again. So these are very, you know, it's very this topic is very nebulous. There's so many counter arguments that can be thrust at this. And what I would say to that is that, yeah, you know, that there is truth in those counter arguments. You know, we should provide people that don't have enough. But what we create, when we raise children that can't fend for themselves, that we coddle them too much, you see what happens to those children of helicopter parents. They don't learn to fend for themselves. What happens when you give a fisherman, when you give somebody fish and you don't teach them how to fish? They can't fish. They can't fend for themselves. And now you've created a dependency, and that is manipulation. That is what you've created, is somebody that cannot do for themselves what they should learn and do for themselves to be self-sufficient. And if you're creating all these people that aren't self-sufficient, that need to rely on the government, or need to rely on this, or need to rely on that, now you have created a system of manipulation and abuse, potential abuse. And that is why a lot of communist societies in the past did not, even though they were under the guise of being fair and of being equal for everyone, the fact that they were then dependent on the state or on the government led to a lot of corruption. And that's just the facts of the matter. You can look up history in all these communist countries and communist regimes that have existed over the course of time. You know, it sounds good on paper. A lot of the times, things that might sound good on paper, though, when put into practice, they don't really work that well. The idea of self-empowerment and the individual just doing whatever we want, it looks good on paper, it sounds good on paper, hookup culture sounds good on paper, but without the confines of any sort of accountability that anybody has for anyone, that anybody's just like, oh yeah, we'll just do whatever I want, thou shalt be done, or my will shall be done, then it's a solipsistic point of view. It's a very self-centered point of view, and that's going to ultimately lead to misery, because when you don't take accountability, when you don't take reflection upon yourself and how you're contributing to your own situation, it's a recipe for, and again, if you're not taking any responsibility, you're simply going out on shopping sprees and having people pay for all of your stuff, or let's say that you aren't doing any work, you constantly blame shift to other people. You say it's my parents' fault, it's the government's fault, it's the media's fault, or whatever, you know, today's target of blame is on your calendar. Then again, you have no power, and you've lost your power, and you are going to be a victim of circumstances, and you're going to forever be a victim of the people around you, because you have let go of that power and you've assigned them all the power. Anyways, guys, my realtor's calling me and I got to take this, but I hope that you get what I'm saying. Much love as always. Drop me a like, drop me a comment, let me know what your thoughts are, and I will see you guys in the next video. Hit me with a subscribe too.